Richard Mellor here again from Facts for Working People. I was just thinking about this whole, want to say a few words about the whole situation in the aftermath of these two catastrophes, what they call natural disasters, but they're actually, to the full extent of them, they're actually market-driven disasters because of climate change and other issues. And that's Harvey in Texas and Houston, of course, and to a lesser extent the one in Irma in Florida. But I mean, the effect of those, particularly in Houston, or in Texas in general, but in Houston, which is a petrochemical and petrochemical oil energy state. There's going to be we won't know the level of pollution in that state, but it's massive. I know that what I was reading that 2,700 tons they reckon of this was about a week after 2,700 tons of extra pollution was being let into the air by these companies, and also a million pounds of different chemicals, particularly harmful substances such as benzene, sulfur dioxide, butadiene, xylene, had been emitted by 60 petrochemical industry plants there, the names of which we all pretty much know. And also, Texas is long a center of the nation's petrochemical industry. And the Houston metro area has more than a dozen Superfund sites. You know, these are designated by the EPA that the present administration basically wants to gut. It's relatively weak anyway, like OSHA, which is a really toothless organ. These superfunds are designated by the EPA as being among America's most contaminated places, and they're now flooded. And these waters there's sewage, there's everything out there. It's just impossible to determine at this point in time the damage. And it's like the BP spill in the Gulf. You know, we'll never know. We probably in my lifetime certainly the damage. They shut those down in terms of the media. Flint's been with poisonous water for God knows how long. Cities around there have poisonous water. We had that gas strike, that gas leak where there was that was an evacuation, a state of emergency in Southern California. There's these ongoing crises, and it's interesting at times like these because there's all this talk when these things happen of unity. Trump went down there. He talks about, he said they were just happy. We saw a lot of happiness. The man it's embarrassing. Imagine this person is sitting in the UN talking to the leaders of the world. They were just happy. We saw a lot of happiness, he said, of the evacuees that he met. Oh, they were very happy, I'm sure. And then he goes on, it's been really nice. It's been a wonderful thing. As tough as this was, it's been a wonderful thing, I think, even for the country to watch and the world to watch. It's been beautiful. And on top of that, you've got all this mass media, intense stories about human cooperation, rescuing cats, going and rescuing each other, people helping each other regardless of race, creed, or color, and all of that. Just non-stop. And of course, we do that. Humans do that. I believe we do it. It's a huge part of what we are to do that because we're collective creatures, which is why racism is not endemic to us. It's not natural to us. We're collective. We're gregarious. We've advanced through cooperation. And so I believe that's natural to us, but they're just laying it on. It's on everything. And now you have this, the 5 presidents spoke at the first televised National Football League game. They've initiated a One America appeal. We're one America, a nation undivided. We're united, we stand. I remember after the 9/11, where there were pictures of some of my co-workers in the other units, in particular, by the machinery with Saddam Hussein's and a target on it. Some of these were even right-wingers who hate the U.S. government. Now suddenly we're all united, you stand. So united, we stand. So this massive attempt but we should all stick together. But the thing is, and what the New York Times said of it, the New York Times writing about it called it the 5 presidents appealing, 5 millionaires, pretty much all of them war criminals in one way or another. The imbecile Bush, 1 million people, his father, check into about Panama, check into what these people have done. Obama, he's extended the Bush drones, the assassinations. They're all bloody murderers, these people. And their policies murder Americans at home as well, kill Americans at home. And so the New York Times says it was a rare showing of unity in American politics. Well, there's always unity with them when their system's threatened, when their position as rulers, the ruling class in society, as the rich of the elite, when their position is threatened, when capitalism is threatened, they unite against us. I mean, I saw Michelle with her arm around Obama with her arm around Bush's little Bush, the imbecile Bush, and hugging him and this, that, and the other. And you see Obama here with his father. When their system is threatened, they are united against us, against working class people, and that's what that's all about. To try to undermine and combat the tremendous anger that exists in society, breaking out into the open, into a more generalized class warfare of working class people are tired against and sick and tired and looking to the system and to them as the culprits. So they have to, at those points in time, talk about the tremendous unity. The other side of building that tremendous unity, because I should just say they don't have TV ads about unity with Kaepernick. They don't have TV ads saying we should all unite with Black Lives Matter and help this immense power to prevent the murder of black youth and black people in the streets by the police. They don't call us to unite there. I've never heard them to unite on a strike. When we're at strike, they don't come out and say, unite, folks, you'll win a better life for everybody, and this is how we've made progress. They don't tell us to unite there. They only talk about unity of all when they're threatened, and when they're not threatened, and that's when they unite to undermine our class unity. And it was interesting because in contrast to what Bush was saying about Texas, he was saying that there's a lot of love here. There's more love than water. He lives in Dallas. He says they interviewed this woman in Guardian last week, I think it was. She says, this has been bad, but it's not going to get better. It'll only get worse. This was a woman, Jessica Holtz, a retired woman. She lives in a Latino area of Houston. And she says, we all talk about how close we are to the refineries, but for us there's no hope. We will die with this poisonous air. I've been around for a few years and no one has listened to us. We are just little people. And that's what millions of people are feeling. The hundreds of thousands are going to be feeling that in Florida when the sickness and all the other stuff, and then all of the other combinations of things that happen in the United States. There's this boiling pot that they want to keep down. They want the movement, a potential movement that they want to keep down. You saw in Boston, you had 40,000 people out in the streets against white supremacy. Now, that doesn't mean every person in there is free of racial ideas. We live in a racist society. You're going to have racist ideas. And you're going to have sexist ideas because we live in a sexist society. The struggle is for activists and for socialists. It's for the struggle is for the consciousness of the working class and to bring what is the class consciousness in our gut up into our consciousness, up into our brain, and to act on that. And so that's the whole reason for this massive attempt at unity. And of course sports is there for that. The sports, if you watch the football games, they're all very masculine ads. It's good for alcohol sales, it's good for apparel sales, it's good for getting young working class people into the military and what have you. And so sports is very important in the pacifying. They've got every season covered, every part of the year is covered, and then there's boxing matches and everything else to keep us from thinking about politics, from organisation. Work helps because we work longer in this country than anybody else, than in the advanced capitalist countries. And so, thinking about this, I just think, well, what a con game it is, this we're all one America. In Texas, and we've written about this on our blog, and in Houston, and in Texas, the Texas Homeowners Association, Texas Builders Association, I put some of this on the blog. There are 4 or 5, 6 guys head that, the senior officers, and these people have been boasting on the blog, and I'll try and put the links up to this, but it's on the blog. They were boasting about the fact that they have shut down any attempts at regulation. You can build where you like, wherever you want to. Texas is a state without regulation. Even in the BP spill, what the regulators did with regard to the rules for deep sea drilling, they let the energy companies write their own rules. I think there was 11 or 13 workers killed in that, and plus the massive damage to that little gulf. Other smaller countries have no say in it. They're also poisoned. And so there's these guys, and really they're criminal. Well, a guy said to me they're criminals. I believe they're economic terrorists. They're actually killers. They consciously bribed their politicians, paid off their politicians to prevent any legislation, minor legislation. Look how how OSHA, how the not the Business Roundtable, I'm getting terrible. It's a business organisation in various communities. How they all opposed OSHA, a toothless protection. They oppose that. In Texas, they have none. They've built over 2 of the counties, which are the most populated, and the population of Houston has grown rapidly, are paved over. There's no regulation to prevent that. There are a lot of wetlands that have been covered over. Water has nowhere to go. So it just exacerbates what is a natural thing, a hurricane. Also, climate change exacerbated a natural thing, this hurricane. So this disaster is a crisis of capitalism. It's conscious. Those heads, the reason they want us all to feel like, oh yeah, we're all just Americans, no difference with any of us. No, me and Bill Clinton, we're buddies. Me and Obama, yeah, we're all Americans. They want that, and I think most people don't believe it in one way or another. But the thing is they push all of that unity and all these sickening stories about how wonderful everybody is after this, because they don't want to point, they won't, and they don't want us to direct our anger at the heads of the Builders Association, the heads of the Housing Association, the politicians who pass the laws. They don't want us to think about that, and they don't want our anger to manifest itself in an organised fashion. That's the reason for all of this. As I say, they don't do it when we're on strike. Tell us, hey guys, stick together, you'll get better wages. We don't see any of that. And it's interesting with sports. I often quote that this the English Revolution, Christopher Hill's English Revolution, where he pointed out how the feudal aristocracy didn't want to eliminate sports on Sundays, because sports on Sundays, people would get together. There was a lot of religious, the transformation beginning to take place within religious, more freedom in religion, the Renaissance and the Reformation and everything else. And they didn't want to eliminate sports because they said, well, people will be talking politics and religion and perdition, I think they call it, and that's what ours is. Ours, endless sports, alcohol sales, workers that know every detail about football and can't point to a country our tax money is destroying through the ruling class in this country, bombing it for a greater share of the market. And the other aspect of this, which is what what racism is for. We pointed out on the blog, racism is useful to them. In Northern Ireland, it wasn't racism, it was religion, because they're all the same colour, pretty much at that time. So the Catholics, the division was along religious grounds. So racism for them, in particular racism in this country, is very useful. They like to keep it there. It's useful to divide workers. They like to, I tell you, whenever I watch a Hollywood film about racism or about history, it's very rare I'll watch them. You will never normally get something like that doesn't increase tension in one way. And on the other hand, they don't want it to boil over. They don't want it to break out into open warfare. And this is what's been happening around the Black Lives Matter, the shooting of cops. Then you had those military people that came back and shot some cops. These are all flashpoints for them, for the ruling class. They're very dangerous. So they like to keep racism there in this country to divide us. In strikes, it's when we come together more. They divide us on the job. They divide us in society. Sexism too, always at all times with women. And so immigrants, foreigners, everything. You go look up this association. I'm talking about blue-collar workers like me. Go read the damn paper about what the homeowners association, the house builders association. Look at what they did and what they consciously did to harm people and to harm the working class people of Texas. So when racism boils over, it's a problem for them. It's expensive and what have you. Business can't happen. It disrupts profit taking, so they try to keep it at that level. The problem is that more and more people are being hurt every day in this country. There's statistics I could throw out about people can't put together $2,000 worth in cash. There's people buying doctors and medical treatment on credit. As black folks always used to say to me, well, if it's unemployment in a white neighborhood, we're having a catastrophe of depression, and they're absolutely right. Well, the life expectancy of whites has declined. What is happening on the ground that's occurring? And that's why this issue from a top down is this issue of identity politics is so reactionary and divisive. Not the special oppression of people, sexual oppression, gender oppression, racism. We have to take this up. But that's all become the issue that supplements the class question. And we can't get rid of capitalism without class unity. And we can't have class unity with racism, sexism, and if we do not struggle. And white workers are responsible for this as too. Particularly activists are and socialists are. Because the bosses have white skin. The bosses are male. The bosses are primarily, I'm talking about the leading, not your supervisor, the ruling class in general. They're predominantly Protestant. But all these are secondary features in a way. It's their social role, it's the system, and it's capitalism. And that's why they focus to undermine the class issue on identity politics all the time in this country. And that will burst asunder in some ways when the movement erupts on a major scale, and it will at some point. This country is at a boiling point. So anyway, these are just some of my thoughts about that. And, reject this crap about these presidents talking about we're all in this in America. No, we're not. No, we're not. Clinton, the two Bushes, Obama, he's in Wall Street now, and the peanut farmer. What did he do when he had power? They're all the same. Both of their parties are the same. Their parties represent their interests. We don't have a political party. That's something, as the movement develops, that we have to build out of that movement, rooted in that movement, our own political party to struggle for our own interests. So anyway, those are just a few things. Hope I've made some sense, or at least expressed a view that I think is important. And the blog, most of us on this blog, well, all of us pretty much around the blog, in one way or another, identify with it in the same way. So Richard Miller, Facts for Working People, and talk to you again soon.